Hey, good morning,
Good
YouTube!
morning, tubers!
We're so glad that you're joining us. I'm Keith. I'm the associate pastor here at West Main.
I'm Amanda, and I'm the children's pastor here at West Main.
And I'm Mike. I'm a worship pastor here at West Main. We are so excited to have you guys joining us.
Hey, back to school
Yes,
has
y'all.
come. We've all been a week.
Yes.
Excited about that. And one thing that we've done, you guys have been crazy generous.
Our church is always crazy generous.
Always crazy generous.
It's in our DNA.
It is.
Yes.
So one thing we wanted to do is say thank you for being generous because of your generosity, we were able to gift all of our administration, our staff, everybody at our school system at Artesia ISD.
Yeah.
ISD?
Independent school. Yes.
All of them got a $10 gift card for coffee
Yes.
from area places here in town. And we're so thankful for you guys to be able to be a part and do that. And so we wanted to say thank you to them for making a difference. And so
Yes.
we were able to do that this week.
Yes,
Excited
and
about that.
let's face it, they're going to need coffee because it's their first week of school after not being in school for a whole year. So, yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. But speaking of kids and all the fun stuff, hey, summer's just around the corner.
Yes.
And so that means we're planning for summer things now. And so, Maine kids, we are going to camp this year. Oh, I'm so excited. We are going to be going back to Fort Lone Tree. And I actually can't remember when we've not gone to Fort Lone Tree, but we'll be going June 14th through the 18th. And I need to know if you're going by tomorrow. February 15th is our deadline to let them know how many we have coming so they can get things ready. It's $4.25 a kid, but we are coming up with some ideas to fundraise and do different things. And I need your $50 deposit and just an okay that you're coming by tomorrow. And let me tell you, if you have a situation where you can't afford it, just let me know. We'll find a way to get you to camp, okay? So that's what I've got going on. I know Keith has got camp.
Miss Amanda, how do they pay for it and how do they let you know?
Oh, good question. So if you would just text at FLT21 to 81010, that will let me know that you're coming. And then you can pay through PushPay. It is on our app. It says Fort Lone Tree Kids, or just Fort Lone Tree, because yours says students.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then you can pay that way, or you can pay by check, cash, however, blood, who knows.
So at FLT21, so
Yes.
as in Fort Lone Tree.
Yes,
FLT.
FLT, Fort Lone Tree.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
At FLT21 for the kids.
For the kids, yes.
Awesome. Hey, in student ministry, we are going to Lone Tree Ranch, which is not quite the same place as
No,
Fort Lone Tree.
no.
But same organization.
Yes, same awesome people.
So we're going to Lone Tree Ranch for Spring Retreat. Spring Retreat is March 12th through 14th for students 5th through 12th grade, and we're excited about it.
Oh,
We've got a lot that have already signed up. We're partnering with Catalyst Church to join them and going on this journey. It's going to be exciting and fun. We've also got a mission trip coming up the end of May 31st through June 4th, and then camp is going to be July 18 through 24. And for camp, for mission trip, we're going to Houston.
Oh, cool.
Through
Houston.
with Praying Pelican Missions, and then camp we're going Student Life Camp to YMCA of the Rockies in Estes Park, Colorado. So more information coming through the app for all of that. Make sure you find that out.
Yes.
Mike,
What's coming up, Mike?
Hey, I get to talk about April 4th is Resurrection Sunday.
Resurrection.
Yes.
This is, as a worship leader, this is a dream because every Sunday, every time we worship, we celebrate a risen King.
Yes.
Resurrection Sunday, we're asking all of you guys to come and be a part of the service. If you can't, of course, you'll be on YouTube. We have some amazing stuff planned
Yes.
this Sunday. We're bringing all of our worship team up on the stage to lead you guys in worship, and we just want it to be the celebration that it deserves.
Yes, it's
That's
going to be
great.
awesome. Hey, today we are talking about Take It Back Week 2. And it's about, so last week we did Wake Up Call. This week
focus on what you're doing.
Hey, it's about focus.
Hey!
Hey, so we're going to be talking about focusing, finding that center, finding that tractor beam to
What was that?
that's my tractor beam, to find that joy, to find that love, to find whatever has been taken away from you. So we're so glad you've joined us.
Welcome.
See ya.
For as long as I can remember, going back to when I was a young teenager up until about 10 years ago, I always struggled with my vision. Like many of you, I either had to wear glasses or I had to wear contacts. And you know, over the years, that can be very expensive, and it can just be irritating to just always have to be going to the eye doctor, adjusting your contacts. If you lose one in a tennis match or wherever, it's just kind of irritating. It's just kind of this constant thing in your life when you can't see clearly. So about 10 years ago, I can't remember exactly how long, but it was about 10 years ago, my sweet mama said, we want to pay for you to have LASIK surgery. Man, what an incredible blessing. So about 10 years ago, I'm sitting in a doctor's office, preparing to have my eyes lasered into good vision, and he says to me, you know, you're about 40 years old and pretty soon you're going to need reading glasses. Not because your eyes are going to fail, but because the older you get, the little muscles that help your eye focus, the weaker they get, the older you get. So that's why we need reading glasses as we get older. And as a 40-year-old guy, I thought, man, I don't know about that. You're probably right. And he said the way we address that is we fix one of your eyes to see distance, and we'll fix one of your eyes to be your reading eye. And your brain will eventually adjust, and you'll be able to see far, and you'll be able to see up close. And I, at the time, could not wrap my brain around one eye seeing one thing and the other eye seeing another thing. And so I said, you know what? Let's not do that. That just sounds too weird, and I don't know if my brain, in its limited capacity, can handle all that. So I didn't do it. Went into the little surgery room. 10 minutes later, literally, I went from about 2100, 2150 vision, walked out with 2015 vision. Absolutely the best 10 minutes of my life. I walked out of there and I never needed another contact solution, never needed glasses again until about 5 years ago. As I got older, my ability to focus was getting more difficult because the little muscles that control the focus were getting weaker as I got older. So now I have to wear these when I need to read. I got to put on my old man reading glasses to see something up close. Our vision is so important. The things we see are so important. And the way we see things is really critical. In fact, Jesus talked to us about this. I'm going to share that with you in just a second. But now's a good time for me to say hello to you West Maniac folks who join us on YouTube. Some of you every week. You're here. We are so grateful for you. We love you. We appreciate you just taking the time out of your day or night, wherever or whenever you're watching this. You have so many options, and the fact that you're watching us is such a huge blessing to us. We appreciate you very, very much. And we want to give you a gift. We want to just say thank you for being part of our YouTube family. If you'll send me an email to this email address, jasoncraft@mac.com, we would love to send you a really cool 80s themed t-shirt. So send me an email, send me your t-shirt size, and we will hook you up. Now is also a great time for you, if you're not already, to subscribe, to like, and to share. These are three things that really help us on the back end of being a YouTube church. It helps us with our analytics. It unlocks some different features in YouTube the more subscribers, likes, and shares we get. And it can help you. You can actually push the gospel out to your friends. You can push share and be a part of helping somebody who needs to hear this message. So please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps us a lot. We are in week 2 of this series we're calling Take It Back. And we are just spending a few weeks, 4 weeks, learning some biblical principles on how we can take back the things that our enemy has stolen from us. Specifically in the last year, but generally as a human being, there will be seasons of your life when you feel like you've lost your joy, when you feel like you've lost peace, when you've lost faith maybe, when you've lost your connection with God. There will be seasons in your life when you just feel like you've lost those things, and it's really important that we learn the skills we need to take those things back, because we need those things desperately in our lives. So we are looking at some principles and some biblical application that we can jump into and just embrace and watch our lives get better, watch the dysfunction get rooted out, make sure we're healthy, and make sure we're living the way that God wants us to live and enjoying the blessings God wants us to enjoy. So we're learning to take it back, and today is step 2. If you missed step 1, you can go to our YouTube channel. You're already there, and you can watch week 1. That was last week. Today I want to read to you what Jesus said in something we call the Sermon on the Mount, because Jesus was teaching a sermon on top of a mountain. It's the most clever title we could give it. He didn't call it that. We do, the Sermon on the Mount. Chapter 6, I want you to hear what he says about our vision. Jesus said, "The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness?" What in the world is Jesus talking about? He says this statement right in the middle of another conversation, which we're going to look at here at the end of this message. But for now, I just want to focus on what he says. He says that these are kind of the lamp, the entry, the illuminating source for all of your body. And in fact, he's saying that your whole life is really impacted strongly by these and what you allow in here. And so if we're going to learn to take back the things that our enemy has taken from us, our faith, our joy, our peace, our strength, our connection with God, one of the things we have to be very careful about is understanding how important our vision is, and what we see and what we look at and the way we look at the things we look at. It's a lot to think about. Here's our bottom line for the day. In a very real way, we are what we see, and we are the way we see what we see. Another way to think of that is you will always find what you're looking for. And Jesus was trying to get across the point that what you point these at and the way you point them has a huge impact on the quality of your life, the direction of your life, and really the outcome of your life. What you choose to look at and the way you choose to look at things impacts your life in a bigger way than I think most of us are aware. Have you ever had like something in your eye or an injury to your eye? It affects your whole body. It affects your outlook. The other day I was painting in this house and I was spraying the roof, and I had to choose between a mask and a pair of goggles because I couldn't do both. The mask was making my goggles fog up. So I had to choose, do I want to breathe or do I want to see? And so I chose to breathe. I took the goggles off. And so naturally, a lot of that paint just got in my eyes. And I'm telling you, that was miserable. When you have just a little bit of dust, a little bit of paint, a splinter, a little bit of metal, just a little thing in your eye can affect your whole day. It can affect your whole mood. And Jesus understands this. And this is what he's saying. The things you point your eyes at, the things you allow your eyes to take in, they might be just small little things, insignificant at the time, but they have huge impact. David understood this. King David wrote this. Psalm 101 verses 3 and 6. He said, "I will refuse to look at anything vile and vulgar. I will look for faithful people to be my companions." David, he understood how important the things that he looked at were to his life. And so he just chose not to look at things that were vile, that were evil, that were wicked. And he chose to look for people who were following God to surround his life with. He was largely shaped by what he saw. In fact, if you know the story of David, his greatest downfall, the spiral of his life that led him to a deep, deep, dark depression and a very bad place, started with what he was looking at. And he learned his lesson. He just made a commitment to God. I'm not going to look at anything wicked with my eyes. And I'm going to choose to look for people around me that I can surround myself with who are faithful to God, who are following God. But there's another side of that. Sometimes, we have to make the decision not to look at evil, wicked things. But sometimes we have to make another choice, and that's just not to look at worthless things. Not all the things we look at are wicked or evil, but some of them are pretty worthless. David said this in Psalm 119:37, a prayer to God. Turn my eyes from worthless things. David is saying, you need to make a commitment not to look at evil, wicked things, but you also need to be aware that sometimes you can spend your life just looking at things that are worthless, not bad, not wicked, but worthless. And this is what I think about when I think about my phone and my iPad. There's a lot of time that I spend just looking at stuff. It's not necessarily wicked. It's not wicked at all, but it's worthless. It doesn't really add value to my life to sit and scroll through Instagram and to see what's happening on Twitter. It doesn't add a whole lot of value to my life. And quite honestly, it's just kind of worthless. And David is saying, God, help me to recognize the things in my life that I'm allowing into my eyes that's impacting the rest of my body and certainly my soul. Show me the things that are just worthless and help me to turn my eyes away from those things. I love one of the mission statements that Jesus made. He made a lot of statements like, I have come, the Son of Man is here for this reason. And in Luke chapter 4, he gives us some insight into why he's here. This is one of his mission statements. Luke chapter 4, verses 18 and 19, Jesus says this, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, that the oppressed will be set free, and that the time of the Lord's favor has come. One of the reasons Jesus came from heaven to earth as a man was so that the blind could see. And he's not just talking about physical blindness. He is talking about spiritual blindness. In other words, it is possible to walk through life with 20/20 physical vision, but be blind in your soul. And Jesus is saying one of the reasons he came was that he wanted those of us who go through life spiritually blind, he wanted to give us sight. He wanted to help us see. And this is your story, and this is kind of a two-phased thing in your life. If you follow Jesus, you probably resonate with the words of that old song, I once was blind, but now I see, which is a direct quote of a miracle that happened in the Bible in John chapter 9, where a blind man was given sight and they were grilling him on what happened. And he said, all I know is I was blind, but now I see. And so some of you, that's your story. Like you were spiritually blind and Jesus helped you see. That's the moment of salvation. But I bet there have been times as you've gone since that moment that your vision needed to improve, that you weren't seeing all that you should have seen, or you were set free from blindness, but there was more for you to see. That's like these dumb reader glasses I have to use. Sometimes, even though I can see physically, I need a little help seeing things more clearly. And so just because you've been given salvation and sight doesn't mean you see things clearly all the time. And Jesus is saying, one of the reasons I came is to help you see clearly. And it's a process. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to learn to see clearly. You have to learn to see all the things that God wants you to see. And I promise you, the longer you follow Jesus, there are more things for you to see. The longer you walk with Jesus, there are more things he wants to show you. I've been walking with Jesus since I was a teenager, and I'm an old man now. And I'm telling you, every day, it seems like at least every day, certainly every week, I learn and see something new about this God who created me that I never saw before. It's because if the longer you walk with Jesus, if you've learned to look at him and focus on him, he wants to show you more. So wherever you are in your spiritual life, if you're not dead, God's not done showing you more of himself and showing you more of what you could be if you just continue to follow him. Your vision can be impacted by three things: pressure, trauma, and focus. Pressure, trauma, and focus are three things that an eye doctor would tell you are pretty important to the health of your eyes. And I would say to you, those three things are also pretty important to your spiritual sight, to making sure you're seeing things the way God wants you to see things. We inherited a dog not long after we moved here. A couple that probably many of you watching this know is actually Keith, our associate pastor. His grandparents, within a couple years of each other, they both died, and they had this dog named Lucky. And Lucky was just a fantastic little dog. He wasn't little. He should have been little. He was a Boston Terrier, but he was quite spoiled, and he was rather large for a Boston Terrier. And Lucky and I kind of developed a friendship, because when I would go see one of them in the house, Lucky would always greet me, and if you paid Lucky any attention and gave him a little treat, he was your friend for life. So it wasn't like I was the dog whisperer. I just happened to pet his head and give him a treat at the right time, and so he liked me. And so after a funeral for Lucky's mom or dad, Lucky's mom, Keith and Keith's mom, Momo, probably know Momo, they said, "Hey, could you take Lucky?" They didn't live in town and they didn't know what to do with poor Lucky. And I said, "Sure, I'd love to have Lucky. I love that guy." Never name your dog Lucky. Lucky was a great dog, and he's a legend in our family. Lucky, not long after we had him, we learned from our vet that as a Boston Terrier, especially one that was a little bit overweight, his eyes, if you've ever seen a Boston Terrier, one of those dogs with a smashed face, their eyes can kind of bug out. And what you have to worry about is the pressure in their eyes. And Lucky's brother, Bill, before Bill died, he would go to the eye doctor and sit up in a chair and do the pressure test on his eyes. It was so important that he be able to see it to check the pressure. And so not long after we had Lucky, we began to notice one of his eyes was just not healthy. It was definitely going bad. And so we took him to our vet, and Stephanie looked at him and said, "Yeah, the pressure in his eye is causing him some pain and it's not working out." So they took poor Lucky's eye out. So Lucky had one eye. He lost an eye because of pressure. Not long after that, in fact, I want to say 6 months or so after that, Lucky is still adjusting to just having one eye. And Lucky hears the garbage truck going down our alley, and you have to let Lucky out so he can go bark at the garbage man. And he couldn't really see. He didn't really have good perspective because of the one eye and trying to adjust. And poor Lucky ran head first into one of the posts holding up our porch. And I will spare you the gory details, but Lucky's eye came out. And we took him to the vet, and she tried to stuff it back in there. I'm sorry for the visual. She tried to put it back in and put a patch over it, and hopefully it would heal. But a week later, it was no good. And so within 6 months, Lucky lost one eye because of pressure and one eye because of trauma. Pressure, trauma, and focus have a huge impact on your sight. And I want to talk about those three things real quick, because for some of us, these are the things that are causing us to be spiritually blind, or spiritually to need a little eye correction, vision correction. Pressure. Tell me pressure is not all around us. There is pressure to make the money, pressure to make sure your family is well taken care of and protected. You have pressures that I don't know about, and I have pressures that you don't know about. And the question is, what do we do with those pressures? When we feel pressured by life, what do we do? What's our go-to? Is it a bottle? Is it a pill? Is it something on the internet? Is it the Bible? Is it prayer? Is it singing to God? What's your go-to when you feel pressured? What do you put in your eyes when you're pressured by life? It's really important that you analyze that and figure out what are your weak spots, what are your blind spots, because when you feel pressure, what you put in your eyes will really affect the direction that your life takes. And pressure can cause you to do some things you don't normally do. What's your go-to? When you feel pressure, what goes in your eyes and affects and impacts your body? What do you look to when you feel pressure? And trauma. Tell me, we don't live in a world where trauma can happen to us all the time. What's your go-to when you're wounded? What's your go-to when you're in pain? What's your go-to when someone offends you? Is it to lash out? Is it to cry out? What's your go-to when you're hurting? Is it to isolate yourself? Is it to surround yourself with people? You need to be very careful about what you look to when you experience trauma, when you experience pain. The things you let in your eyes will impact the rest of your life and the direction of your life. And then the third thing that Lucky couldn't do because he lost both of his eyes was focus. Where in your eye you focus and what you choose to focus on makes a huge difference in your physical sight and in your spiritual sight. What do you focus on? And I would say to you, I bet because you live in 2021 in America, one of the things that you're most likely to focus on from time to time is cashola, is money, is your retirement account, is your stock market, is your Robinhood account. Most of us spend a lot of time focusing on money. And before you check out and say, here we go, preacher telling me about my money and a preacher wanting my money, I don't want your money. It has nothing to do with that. I just want us to get the whole context of what Jesus is saying. Because what Jesus is saying when he says that your eyes are the lamp to your body and whatever you allow in can either be darkness or light and it affects your whole life, we have to get the full context of that, because when Jesus says that, guess what he's talking about? Money. Turns out for a long, long time, our physical possessions, the things that we want to own, the things that we do own, the things that we want to spend our money on, they can get a grip on our heart. And they've been able to do that for hundreds and thousands of years. And so Jesus spends some of his time in the greatest sermon ever preached talking about how important it is that you watch out for greediness. That's a phrase used a couple times in the New Testament. Watch out for being greedy. It's an interesting statement because the Bible doesn't tell us to watch out for being a murderer. The Bible doesn't tell us to watch out for something really terrible. But it does warn us, watch out that you're not greedy, because our money can get such a hold on our heart. And if what we're looking at influences our heart, our spirit, we need to make sure that we're focused on the right thing. So let's get the full context of what Jesus is saying. Let's look at what comes before and after the statement that the eyes are a lamp to our body. Jesus said, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, the whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So don't be mad at the preacher when he talks about money, because Jesus did it first. Jesus knew that money, our possessions, could get a hold on our heart and push him out. And so he wants to make sure we understand what we're looking at, what we're looking for, can get a hold on our heart. And he knows that for most of us, what we look at, what we're looking for is stuff, more. And he wants to make sure that we are focused on the right things. And so my question for you today as we just kind of wrap up this section about pressure and trauma and focus is, what are you looking for? What do you look to when things are hard? What do you look to when things are painful? And what do you look to when things are prosperous? What do you look to? What are you looking for? See, one of the reasons that some of us have experienced a season of loss, a loss of joy, a loss of a connection with God, a loss of peace of mind, one of the reasons is because we're looking in the wrong places and we're looking for the wrong things. Do you know somebody who just has a twinkle in their eye, like a sparkle in their eye, and you can just look at them and you can tell there's something going on with them, or man, that person is full of joy just because there's this little twinkle in their eye? It's kind of an undefinable quality of a person when they have a sparkle or a twinkle in their eye. It's a weird thing to say about somebody, but I bet you know somebody like that. David understood that whole concept, and here's what David said in Psalm 13:3. Turn and answer me, O Lord my God. Restore the sparkle to my eyes, or I will die. David understood that what he was looking at impacted the rest of his life. And he was saying, God, I don't want to go through life with dull eyes. I don't want to go through life with flat, dead eyes. I don't want to go through life with stressed out eyes, eyes that see vile and wicked things, eyes that see worthless things. I need you, God, to restore my vision and let it sparkle because I'm looking at the right things. And his counter statement is, if you don't do that, God, I'm going to die. It's so important what we let in here. We have to learn to take back our vision. Last week we learned that we have to guard ourselves, watch ourselves, keep ourselves. And as we're doing that, we have to also learn to guard and watch and keep what goes in our eyes, because what we let in here impacts the rest of us. And we have to watch very carefully what we're looking at and what we're looking for and what we're looking to, because in a very real sense, what we look at, look for, and look to is impacting the direction and the quality of your life. So what do you do? What do you do if the reason you've lost hope, lost faith, lost joy is because of what you're allowing yourself to see, or because of what you're looking to, because you're looking in the wrong places? What do you do if you've lost that sparkle that David's talking about? What do you do if you just feel a deadness and a dullness in your eyes? What do you do if you just can't see the things God is asking you to see? Well, Paul gives us some pretty good instructions, and I just want to read them to you, and we'll close with this thought. In Colossians chapter 3, here's what Paul said. Since then, you have been raised with Christ, set your hearts, and you can also translate that word hearts as eyes. In fact, your translation might use the word eyes. Set your eyes, look to, focus on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds, your eyes, on things above, not earthly things. What Paul is saying is, when you've lost that sparkle, turn your gaze, turn your thoughts, turn your heart, turn your eyes to Jesus. Look at Jesus. Think about things that Jesus would think about. Think about the things that Jesus said or did. Just focus on this heavenly kingdom that we are going to inherit, and don't focus on this earthly kingdom that will pass away. Now, that's easier said than done, but once you come to a point in life when you can embrace this idea that there is not a politician in the world that can give you the sparkle back, there's not a paycheck ever big enough that can give you your joy back. There's not anything in life. There's not a pill. There's not a habit. There's not a pleasure. There's not a fun thing. There's not any of those things that will give you lasting joy, lasting peace, lasting connection with God. None of that can. It's all temporary. And when you begin to embrace that and choose not to focus on those things, choose to not always be looking to those things as your go-to, But when you learn to turn your gaze and look to Jesus and focus on things that are above all those things, you'll begin to get your joy back, your faith back, your peace back, your strength back by just looking at Jesus. And here's what I know for sure. Probably some of you watching this, you feel like it might even be a very real statement to say you've lost your fill in the blank, lost your joy, lost your peace, lost your connection with God. What do? You go to Jesus. And some of you are worried about that. You're worried about going back to Jesus because you think the things you've been looking at, the things you've been looking to, disqualify you from going back to Jesus. And I want to set you free from that lie. That is a lie from hell. You can always, no matter what, go back to Jesus, and you should do it today. I've got 4 kids. They all have significant others, so I have 8 kids, and I have 3.5 grandkids. One's coming soon. There is not a time when I am not happy to see them. 4 of them live here, 4 of them live in Albuquerque, and there has never been a time when they come to see me or I go to see them and I'm not happy to see them. It's never happened. I love it when my kids come to me. When they come to me, I just want to give them a big hug. It makes them uncomfortable, and I love it. I want to just wrap my arms around them. I'm so happy to see them. And I am an imperfect, flawed, messed up dad. Can you imagine how much our Heavenly Father, who is perfect, loves it when his children come home, when his children return to him? He loves it. He is ready to welcome you with open arms. So today, wherever you're sitting, if you've lost that sparkle in your eyes, if you've lost that joy, that peace, that connection with God, it might be because of what you're allowing in your eyes. It might be because of what you're looking to, and it might be because of what you're looking for. And my challenge to you today, look to Jesus. You want to take all that back? Look to Jesus. He is ready to welcome you home. He's ready to give you clearer vision. He's ready to clear the clouds from your eyes and show you what you need to see. Church, it is time to see things clearly. And the only way to do that is to focus on God. Focus on God's grace and his love for you. Where's your focus today? What are you looking to? And what are you looking for? May we be people who look to Jesus, who look for Jesus, who just let Jesus into our lives and impact the rest of our days. That's my prayer for you. It's my prayer for me, that as his church, as his children, we would return to him and look to him, and we will take it back. See you next week.